Ladies and gentlemen, can I welcome you today to the Olympic and Paralympic teams' welcome home. It's the Tokyo 2020 celebrations.
I am Sharon Gadella.
And I'm Pat Welch. We're from 7 News.
And of course it is our absolute pleasure to be here today to honour the incredible Olympic and Paralympic athletes who didn't they do us so proud in Tokyo. Now Pat, you've covered, yeah they did, and that deserves a round of applause, definitely. Pat, you've covered 9 Olympics in your time, but sadly you didn't get to Tokyo this year. But this has got to be the next best thing, doesn't it? I mean, to be here, to see the atmosphere, to feel the atmosphere, and to be in the company of such an impressive array of Olympic athletes.
Well, in all the Olympics that I've covered, Sharon, I mean, this was obviously the most difficult. We sent a limited team over there. We had a lot of our teams based here. But the simple fact, in TV terms, I suppose, that virtually everything unfolded in prime time, which made it one of the most watched events in Australian history. And I know every one of you here today that have come up in the hot sun enjoyed every minute of it. And we've got, I think you don't need convincing that so many of our stars of the Games were, of course, Queenslanders. And I've had a little sneak peek. We've seen so many of them gathering inside the cool of City Hall now. And they just can't wait to come out and meet you. And we'll be bringing them to you very, very shortly.
And Pat, Queensland did a fair bit of the heavy lifting during these Olympics and Paralympics. Some statistics for you. We won 56 medals in total. 22 of those medals were gold, yes, round of applause. Australia, of course, finished 6th on the overall medal tally. If Queensland had have been competing as a country, we would have finished 7th. So, yes, they did us proud, did they not? Well done, Queensland athletes.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. Please, as best you can, maintain physical distancing today. We'd really appreciate that. Keep that mask on. That is absolutely crucial, obviously, unless you're seated and eating and drinking.
Of course, if you wish to exit that zone that you are in, there is only one exit towards the rear, so please be aware of that. Also, if by chance any of you feel unwell, there is a first aid tent here, so please make your way to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today, of elders past, present and emerging. We thank them.
We'd also like to acknowledge the Honourable Annastacia Palaszczuk MP, Premier of Queensland, and the newly appointed Minister for Olympics, the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Councillor Adrian Schrinner, Susie O'Neill AM, representing the Australian Olympic Committee.
You might notice Susie over there standing beside another legend, Dawn Fraser. Dawnie, welcome, great to see you. Could I particularly mention the Honourable Tim Carmody, QC, Board Member, Paralympics Australia, members of Parliament who are gathered here as well, councillors, athletes, team officials, and in particular on a day like today, you, our fans. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, the fans do deserve a round of applause for standing in the sun there, Paddy, don't they? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this afternoon. It is heartening to see such an impressive number of you out here today celebrating the outstanding achievements of our athletes that were made in Tokyo 2020 for the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Well, I don't think there's any better way to start the celebrations than to recap the phenomenal achievements that our athletes achieved during the Games this year. Please now turn to the big screens as we recall some of the inspiring performances from the Olympic Games.
There were certainly some historic moments there, weren't there? Do they still give you goosebumps? They do me watching it. Yeah, it was just incredible, wasn't it? It melted away all the world's troubles when we were watching the Olympics and the Paralympics. Fantastic. Well, now for the remarkable Paralympians, please join us in celebrating the incredible triumphs and the sportsmanship on show during the Paralympic Games in August.
1, 2, 3. Very good.
Australia's having another mining boom. It's a bit of a gold rush.
Just awesome, wasn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Can I ask you to put your hands together and extend a warm welcome to our Olympic and Paralympic athletes.
And first up, ladies and gentlemen, we have archery and para-archery. Australia has been represented in archery at every Olympics since its return in Munich in 1972. In Tokyo, the mixed archery team finished 25th and the men's team, which featured Rio bronze medalists Ryan Tyack and Taylor Worth, finished 9th. Para-archery has featured at every Paralympic Games since the first in Rome in 1960. This event is open to athletes with a physical impairment and comprises standing and wheelchair events. Please make them welcome.
Next up, artistic swimming, ladies and gentlemen. All began for Australia with Inala Burridge in synchro swimming, now artistic swimming, when the sport debuted in LA in '84. In the lead up to Tokyo, Australia qualified for the Games after finishing as the highest placed nation from Oceania, above New Zealand, and at the 29 World Championships in the Republic of Korea. Artistic swimming, ladies and gentlemen.
Next up, we have athletics and para-athletics. Now, there were some truly outstanding performances in athletics at the Tokyo Games. Nicola McDermott won silver in the high jump. Kelsey Lee Barber got the bronze in javelin. And Peter Bowl and Matt Denny, weren't they inspiring? And who could possibly forget Ash Maloney winning bronze in the decathlon with his mate Cedric Dubler urging him on in the final event of the 1500 metres. The para-athletics, it's comprised of track and field events and is open to athletes with a physical, intellectual or vision impairment. Please welcome our athletic and para-athletic Olympians and Paralympians.
And what about our beach volleyballers? They're always ahead of the game. They're already here. One of the most memorable moments of the Games. So Taliqua Clancy, ladies and gentlemen, and Maria Annastacia del Solar claimed the silver medal, just pipped by the US in the final following a stellar performance in the lead-up. They are our beach volleyballers.
Next up, we have the sport of boxing. Australia sent a team of 5 boxers to Tokyo, with Harry Garside winning our first boxing medal in 33 years. What an amazing performance that was. And of course, who could forget Sky Nicholson? She showed us just how much it means to represent Australia, and we can't wait to see them back for Paris.
What about our canoe and para-canoe teams, ladies and gentlemen? Our para-canoe is open to athletes with a physical impairment and races in 2 types of boats, the kayaks and bar. The races are individual events, and we've got a couple of stars there as well, ladies and gentlemen. And our canoe sprint paddlers are clearly the highlight of the team, with John van der Westhuizen and Tom Green bringing home the gold. This was the first time that Australia has taken home the gold in the men's K2 1000. Welcome them all.
Next up, we have our cyclists and paracyclists. And as you all know, Queensland does very well when it comes to cycling. And with paracycling, it is open to athletes with a physical or visual impairment. It's divided into track and road events. In road cycling, athletes compete on a tandem bike, a standard bike, a 3-wheel trike or a hand cycle, depending on their impairment. Track cycling is contested in a velodrome and is for athletes who compete on a tandem or standard bicycle. Cycling and paracycling, ladies and gentlemen.
Goalball is for a team sport played indoors by athletes with vision impairment. The object of the game is to roll the ball into the opponent's goal while the opposing players try to block it with their bodies. Ball inside the ball help to orientate the players by indicating the direction of the oncoming ball. But I think this was one of the real stars of the Games, because they got a lot of television time and they were fantastic to watch. Our goalball team, ladies and gentlemen.
Our next sport, ladies and gentlemen, is gymnastics. The first Australian Olympic gymnasts competed in Melbourne in 1956. Australia was represented by an 11-strong gymnastics team in Tokyo, almost matching Australia's largest ever gymnastics squad of 12 set the last time Tokyo hosted the Games. Please make welcome the gymnastics team.
As usual, our hockey teams, ladies and gentlemen, were among the most highly anticipated events at the Games. Both the Hockeyroos and Kookaburras fought hard in Tokyo. Nail-biting finish for the Kookaburras when they narrowly lost to Belgium in the final to claim the silver. Welcome our hockey teams.
Our next sport, ladies and gentlemen, is rowing. And how could we forget Australian rowers? They had that incredible hour of power at Tokyo 2020. In the space of an hour on the morning of July 28, I'm sure you'll all remember it, our rowers won an incredible 4 medals: gold in the men's and women's fours, bronze in the men's and women's quad sculls at the Tokyo Sea Forest Waterway. An incredible effort indeed.
In parachuting, ladies and gentlemen, at the Paralympic Games, parachuting is open to athletes with a physical impairment. Athletes compete in both the rifle and pistol events. So welcome our parachuting team.
Well, I think there might be a big cheer for this team. The next team is swimming and para-swimming. Of course, the Dolphins made history in Tokyo, winning the most gold medals ever, 9, and with 3 silver and 8 bronze, they equalled the most medals, 20, for an Australian Olympic swimming team. From relay records to taking down legends, the Tokyo Aquatic Centre was the scene of unforgettable Olympic memories. I think you'll all agree with that. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe almost 63% of the 35-person swim team, they all hailed from Queensland. So the Queenslanders did some heavy lifting there. And of course, who could forget the Paralympians with the swimming? Just wonderful what they achieved as well. Please make them
Para-table
welcome.
tennis team, ladies and gentlemen. It's open to athletes with a physical or intellectual impairment. Athletes compete in standing or sitting and wheelchair classes. Men and women compete individually and in team events. So please welcome our para-table tennis team. We've got the para-taekwondo team as well, Sharon.
We do. And Pat, the para-taekwondo, it made its debut in Tokyo at the Paralympics. It's open to athletes with a physical impairment. Athletes compete in the sparring discipline and players compete in the male and female competitions.
In triathlon and para-triathlon, ladies and gentlemen, 3 men and women represented Australia in the triathlon, swimming, running and cycling, running around Tokyo's Marine Park. We also saw the Olympic debut of the mixed team relay for the triathlon, with Australia finishing 9th. The para-triathlon races over 3 disciplines: 750 metres of swimming, 20k cycling, 5k running. Depending on the athlete's classification, she or may use a hand cycle or a track chair, tandem bike and sighted guide or standard equipment.
Our next sport is sailing. Yes, they deserve a cheer. Our sailors came away with 2 gold medals in the laser and men's 470. Both squads so dominant, they had the gold medal locked up before their final race. Gold medalist Matt Belcher was also recognised for his incredible contribution to the Australian Olympic movement, named as the flag bearer for the closing ceremony. And of course, Matt won his 2nd gold medal. Well done indeed.
Softball made its return to the Olympic arena for the first time since Beijing in 2008, playing in the very first event of the Games against host Japan and Fukushima. On the 21st of January, the Aussie Spirit finished in 5th place with the highlight a hard-fought 1-0 win over Italy.
Our next sport is water polo. Now, the Stingers and the Sharks represented Australia with pride in Tokyo, fighting it out in the pool with the world's best. The Stingers featured Bronwyn Knox, Australia's first female 4-time Olympian for water polo. That's quite an effort. And the Stingers finished in 5th and the Sharks in 9th place.
Australia set our largest weightlifting team since Sydney 2000 to Tokyo, with 5 athletes competing for the green and gold. That included Queenslander Erika Yamazaki, who remains the only Australian woman to clean and jerk double her own body weight. So welcome our weightlifters, ladies and gentlemen.
Look out there. Next up, we have wheelchair basketball. The wheelchair basketball is open to athletes with a physical impairment. It is played indoors on a regulation basketball court. Players are assigned a point value from 1 to 4.5 depending on their level of impairment, with teams consisting of 5 players. Always a great game to watch.
And lucky last, only because they're with a W, there's wheelchair rugby. Be nice. They are very, very tough indeed. It's an intense contact sport. Played by the boys and the girls, 8-minute quarters. To be eligible to compete, athletes must have a significant impairment that affects their arms and legs. Well, and I can tell you, they call it murder ball, I think. Ladies and gentlemen, there they are, Sharon. 150 of our finest.
And Pat, isn't it truly an honour to be welcoming back home and to get to congratulate you here for your outstanding efforts during Tokyo. Thank you very much. Well, now that we have the athletes on stage, I would now like to invite the Honourable Annastacia Palaszczuk, MP, Premier of Queensland and Minister for Olympics, to come forward to say a few words.
Hello, good afternoon, Brisbane. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we gather and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Can I of course acknowledge our co-host here today, the Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner and the Matey Mayoress. Can I also acknowledge my Deputy Premier Stephen Miles, Treasurer Cameron Dick, my Minister for Sport Sterling Hinchcliffe, the mayors that are here, Greg Christensen, Peter Flannery. Can I acknowledge the Leader of the Opposition, the Tokyo Olympic Deputy Chefs de Mission, Susie O'Neill and Kenny Wallace. But most importantly, well, first of all, let's acknowledge our wonderful athletes. Let's give them a big cheer. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today is a celebration. It's a celebration about acknowledging the achievements of these inspiring Queenslanders who went to Tokyo during the most difficult of times, and every single one of them has come back an Olympian hero. Let's give them a big cheer. We also want to acknowledge all of the family that have supported our Olympians, the coaches, let me just say this. Our Olympians won 13 gold, 4 silver, 11 bronze. Our Paralympians won 9 gold, 8 silver and 11 bronze. But if our Queensland Olympians had been a country in our own right, we would have come 7th in the world. And finally, as Premier and now Minister for the Olympics, we all look forward to our own Olympics in 2032 in Queensland, Brisbane. And out there, somewhere today, across Queensland or in our crowds, are our future Olympians. And we're going to do everything we can to inspire you and drive you. And one day, you will be like our fantastic heroes here today. You'll be representing Queensland on the world stage. So 3 cheers for our Olympians. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Hip, hip. Queenslander.
You've only got 11 short years to get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Premier. Some incredible results there, and I think you all know them from our both Olympians and Paralympians, and now we look forward to, as far as this part of the world, the 2032 Games. I'd like to now invite the Right Honourable the Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Councillor Adrian Schrinner, ladies and gentlemen, to speak, and most importantly, present the keys to the city to our exceptional athletes.
I also want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respects to our fantastic MCs today, Pat and Sharon, to all of the distinguished guests, the Premier, Ministers, to all of the councillors, the mayors from South East Queensland, to the Leader of the Opposition, David Crisafulli, and most importantly, to our fantastic Olympic athletes and Paralympians. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing else that unites people like the Olympic Games and the Paralympic Games. It's something we all wish we could do in Tokyo. And while the crowds couldn't be there to cheer you on, I can tell you, we were watching, we were cheering, and we were inspired. And so it's a great honour today to be able to, on behalf of the City of Brisbane, present the keys to the city. Now, there is only one key that I'm presenting today, but it is for all of you. It is for every Olympian and Paralympian that went to Tokyo. It is for all of you. Just don't ask me what it opens, because I'm not really sure about that. But what it does is it opens the key to our heart, because you won our hearts, you won our minds, and you inspired us in Tokyo. Now, it wasn't just about the medals, and we were all blown away by the incredible medal tally. Truly inspiring. And if you have a look at the tally of both Olympic and Paralympic medals, there are very few events where we've done better in the history of Australian sport. But as I said, it's not just about the medals, it's about so much more than that. It's about the commitment, it's about the determination, it's about the blood, sweat and tears, and it's about that Aussie mateship. It's about the Cedric Doublers. Now, Cedric's here. Give him a cheer. Who cheered on his training buddy Ash Maloney in the 1500 decathlon. It's about the Grant Scooter Pattersons who, despite adversity, got the podium after so many years of training and so much hardship. People like Cedric and Grant inspired us all. And whether you win or not, it was inspirational because it was about that Aussie spirit that we all celebrate. There are few nations in the world that get behind their athletes like Aussies do, and there is a reason for that. There is a reason that you inspire us, but also give that example of Aussie mateship, Aussie friendship, Aussie sisterhood when it comes to our incredible teammates and athletes. Now, I'm sure many of you would have been inspired 21 years ago at the Sydney Olympic Games. Yeah. And I've got to say, it was even more inspiring watching the success and the achievement at Tokyo with the knowledge in the back of our head that in a relatively short period of time, we will see all of that happen right here on our doorstep in Brisbane, in southeast Queensland and in Queensland. It's going to happen here and it's going to be fantastic. We know it will be the best Olympics ever, and I know that's a big call because it will be a truly Brisbane and a truly Queensland Olympics. But today is about those athletes that inspired us. You've inspired a nation, you've inspired the next generation, and I know that there are kids taking the extra laps in the pool. There are kids on their BMX bikes inspired by what Logan did for us. Yep. And there are just so many stories of inspiration that will last through the next 11 years until we have the Olympics here in Brisbane. But from the City of Brisbane, all of the councillors and every person in our community, I honour you, I thank you, and let's give them a big Aussie cheer. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The Lord Mayor handing over the keys to the city now.
And I think we've got two sets of keys, haven't we, Lord Mayor?
Oh.
I think we have from the Olympians, ladies and gentlemen.
As well as the results, though, there's so much to be proud of this team. Over half the team were females. We also had the highest number of Indigenous athletes. We had 16 in the team.
Mayor of Brisbane. Your generous hospitality is greatly appreciated. Tokyo was the 16th Paralympic Games organised by the International Paralympics Committee over the last 61 years of our movement. 4,403 athletes from 160 nations, as well as the refugee Paralympic team and Russian Paralympic Committee, competed in 539 events in 22 sports spread over 13 days under the Games motto, United by Emotion. Australia ranked 6th on overall medals, but of course, first in our hearts. Against great odds, and not least of all, those thrown at them by the pandemic, Queenslanders, who made up less than 1/4 of the national team, proudly contributed 28 to the tally of 80 medals, including 9 gold, that's half of the total, 8 silver and 11 bronze. Swimmer William Martin was Australia's leading medalist with 3 gold and 1 silver. These figures reflect the sporting saturated culture of the Sunshine State, which eagerly looks forward to hosting the 2032 Brisbane Games. Paralympics Australia publicly salutes and loudly applauds all your extraordinary achievements. Congratulations also to our colleagues in the Australian Olympic team for their valiant efforts and own conspicuous success at their games held a few weeks earlier and acted as a great entree for the main event to follow. We also express our sincere gratitude to all the officials, coaches, trainers, volunteers, pilots and carers for preparing the athletes physically, psychologically and emotionally for their demanding ordeal. And to your family and friends, as well as those who supported you over the long term in 100 different little ways through the endless series of highs and lows, the good days and bad, the great joys and searing disappointments. Competing at an elite level, with or without a disability, is an admirable accomplishment. Winning on the international stage is even more commendable. But podium finishes, broken records, world rankings or personal bests are not the only measures of sporting prowess or success. Sport builds and reveals true character. Everyone has the will to win. What matters most is the will to do whatever it takes to put yourself in a winning position. It is not letting what you cannot do stop you from doing what you can. Regrettably, we were unable to be with you in person at the Games, but were there in spirit. Thank you for taking us on your quest for sporting fulfilment, for making the heavy sacrifices required of you, for carrying the weight of our expectation on your shoulders, and for the gifts of unity and pride that you have given a grateful country in a difficult time. Thank you too for the sheer joy you brought to so many of us as we sat glued to our TV sets cheering you on and taking vicarious pleasure in your sensational efforts and achievements. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you for taking the time today to come here to acknowledge the incredible achievements of our Paralympians. They certainly did us proud. Now, I'm sure after waiting out in the hot sun there, you are keen to hear from the people of the moment, our Olympic and Paralympic superstars. So could I please ask Curtis McGrath, Lakeisha Patterson, Ariane Titmus and Logan Martin to come forward.
Welcome them all, ladies and gentlemen. Kurt, I might start with you.
Yeah, you go, Pat. Off you go.
I'll start with Curtis. He gave us some heart palpitations there. What was this veering off course like? Tell me it was all part of a cunning plan, mate.
I would put it down to 2 years not being able to compete on the world stage and having that pressure and that knowing that all you behind us were behind us out there. It was weighing on the mind, but thankfully that wasn't the case in the final when I managed to execute what I wanted.
Of course, you also defended your Tokyo goal. That must be a source of a huge amount of pride, I would have imagined.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we all go into these games, wanting to be on top of the stage, or top of the podium. But I think, putting in and understanding what goes into getting to the top of the podium this time was a bit of weight on my shoulders. But I knew what I had to do, and I had an amazing team, an amazing nation behind us, and we were able to do that.
We spoke a couple of times. I mean, you, like a lot of the athletes here gathered today, would have faced a crossroads moment when they cancelled in 2020. You had to make a big decision in your life, didn't you?
Yeah, it was very difficult. None of us had been through this situation before. Even our sports had never been through this situation before. So understanding the processes in our training environments, our cycles, getting the motivation back there to get back on the horse and get back out training again was really difficult. But, the goal remained the same. Just the goalpost had shifted. So we powered on and we had a really amazing games.
Good stuff. Curtis McGrath, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Curtis. Well, let's bring in Lakeisha Patterson now. They call you lucky, don't they? Lakeisha, you had a tough lead up to the Paralympics, didn't you? You were battling illness. You only competed in the one event, but gee, you made it count, didn't you? You won gold, the first gold at the Paralympics in the S9 400-metre freestyle final, one of 6 gold medals that we won on that first day. It must have been such a proud moment for you to have overcome what you did to then win gold.
Yeah, it really was. It was such a special day, and to be able to open up our Paralympic campaign on the very first day of competition was really exciting. The 400 freestyle for me is my main event, so to kind of have that on the first day can be a little bit overwhelming, but I think the rest of our team was behind us, and it really was a golden day, not only in the pool but on the track before us as well. It was such a phenomenal experience to be a part of and just show the rest of Australia what we can do. And with everyone's support behind us, we definitely felt it and could definitely push us towards that end.
Well, you certainly set the bar very high on day one. You did indeed. During the 2016 Rio Games, you made your debut as the youngest Paralympian in the team. We've got the 2032 Brisbane Olympics coming up. What advice would you offer to anyone young out there that's thinking about striving to actually compete in the Paralympics coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for myself, I wasn't aware of Paralympic sport until I watched the Games on TV at London in 2012, and now seeing the kind of coverage that we're able to receive and the rest of Australia is able to tune in and watch our Olympic and Paralympic sports and all of our athletes, it really is exciting and really does ignite that dream. And for myself, that's where it started for me, and to be competing 4 years later at my first Games and achieving those goals I set out only a mere 4 years earlier was really special. And to be able to share that with, you know, my friends, my family, and prove to all those people that said it's impossible or you can't do that wrong. And I think that's such a positive message that we can share with all the young people in our crowds today and all around the country. And come Brisbane 2032, I think it's going to be really exciting, and I'm sure we're going to see, you know, possibly even some athletes still here hanging around and some many more brave faces to come.
Let's hope so. Now, just quickly before you go, I read somewhere that you are so dedicated to your sport, you haven't eaten chocolate in 8 years. Have you had a chance to sneak any in since the Games?
I did have a cheeky celebration come home.
Good on you. You deserved it, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, guys and girls, do you recognise this gentleman just over there, two from my left? Yeah? Household name, isn't he now, Logan Martin? I understand the neighbours, mate, weren't all that pleased when you built a BMX ramp in your backyard. Is that right?
Yeah, so they weren't too fond of the idea. I started building the skate park. We had a few complaints to the council. 3 to 6 months later, they sort of, mellowed out a little bit. The main goal was to build that skate park, help me get to the Olympics, and it all worked out.
The reason was because you obviously couldn't compete, and yours is a global sport, so you had to do something to keep training right here in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. So if I wanted to continue progressing my riding, leading into the Olympics, I saw the level of freestyle BMX increasing. And I knew I had to either build something if I wanted to stay on the Gold Coast, or I'd have to move overseas. So I decided to build a skate park in my backyard.
How brilliant you were during the competition. You virtually had it wrapped up before your last run. But what has it done to your life, mate? How much has it changed your life to be an Olympic champion?
To now be an Olympic gold medalist is... It has changed my life completely. The past couple of months I've been extremely busy. Not that my life wasn't busy before, but it's even busier. Juggling my family, my work life, and then all the stuff that's coming from the Olympics. It's a challenge, but it's a good challenge.
Paris in 3 years' time.
Paris in just under 3 years' time, definitely. That's the next main goal. Get to Paris. Do my best to back up this performance. I've still got a lot of life left in me on my bike. I still really enjoy what I do. The goal is Paris.
The feats that you achieve on that bicycle are just phenomenal. Logan Martin, ladies and gentlemen, an Olympic champion.
He was flawless, wasn't he? And you've got the birth of your second child to prepare for as well, coming up.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a 2-year-old, and then we have a little girl on the way due in January. So that's exciting.
You are busy. All right, thank you, Logan. Well, let's bring in Ariane now. Yes, how wonderful is Ariane? You were responsible for 2 of the most memorable moments of the Games. You dethroned the great Katie Ledecky, one of the best female swimmers of all time. Pat spoke there to Logan about being life-changing. It would have been life-changing for you. How's it been since you've been back in Australia?
Yeah, it's been, my life's changed completely. I mean, like Logan said, we were busy before, but I've been extremely busy, and I had my first week back at training this week as well. So since the Olympics has pretty much been non-stop, going around seeing people like the fans out here today, and I've really, really enjoyed it.
You should enjoy it too, you deserve it. Ariane, you said you're back in training. How's it going and what are your goals now? You've got the Commonwealth Games, the World Championships, Paris obviously coming up. Are you aiming for all three to get another gold or two?
I mean, training's been pretty rough this week. I've done 0 seconds of exercise since the Olympics, so I've done this week kilometres that I'd usually do in a day of training. So it's been slow going, but I'm not worried about that. And in terms of my goals, I mean, next year is going to be a busy year with Worlds and Commonwealth Games, and I would love to be there and competing again, and you know, be ready to try and defend my title at the World Championships. And then, but I guess the main goal is to be ready for Paris. I want to build in and make sure that I'm at my very, very best for that, because I knew what the feelings were like at Tokyo, and I want to feel that again.
Well, I'm sure you will. Now, there was a lot of excitement about your performances in Tokyo, most notably from your wonderful coach, Dean Boxall, and your dad, Steve Titmus. Now, I've just got to check, how are their heart rates at the moment? Have they calmed down?
They've definitely calmed down. Dean's actually on a holiday. He hasn't even been back to the pool yet, so he's very relaxed at the moment. Mum and Dad, they're still very excited about it. It's pretty funny. I say that, you know, whenever people come over to the house, Dad brings the medals out like they're his medals. Like, he's so proud of them that he's the one that brings them out to do show and tell. But no, I'm very grateful for my family, and they're very supportive. So yeah, I'm very lucky.
Well, you can be assured that your father tells us at work that they are his medals and that he did achieve them. So we hear that a lot. Well done, Ariane.
Thank you.
You did us proud. You really did.
Thank you.
There we are, guys. It's not just a few seconds or a run on the bike or a row in the canoe, ladies and gentlemen. It's years and years of dedication, and they have inspired us all. Can you thank Curtis? Can you thank Lakeisha? Can you thank Logan? Can you thank Ariane? Can you thank this entire team of Olympians and Paralympians here today?
And Pat, hasn't it been a wonderful celebration? Thank you all for turning up today, and thank you all to the fans out there for coming along as well on this very hot day. The support that you've shown our Olympians and our Paralympians, it's just been tremendous, and I know they feed off a lot of that support that you give them. So thank you very much for turning up today.
We've got one more video for you, ladies and gentlemen. As you all know now, we're really looking forward to 2032, the Brisbane Games. Let's have a little sneak preview of the 35th Olympiad.
The games of the 35th Olympiad are awarded to Brisbane, Australia.
Well, the deal has been sealed now, Max. We are going to go.
It's you know, to see all these athletes standing behind me. I mean, I watched them on television. I think I got about 2 hours sleep every night, but to watch the Paras and the Olympics together is absolutely fantastic. And you know, when I was, it was announced 32 in Brisbane, I thought the whole country was just in an uproar. It was absolutely fantastic, and we've got to thank the Premier for supporting it all and going through with it. And you know, congratulations on Premier, you did a fantastic job.
And I know you've got your obvious first love is the swim team, and they went over there and just performed, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Both, I mentored a few of the Dolphins and I mentored a few of the Paras, and I went up to Scooter's welcome home in Cairns last week, and he got an absolutely fantastic welcome home, and like the guys here today, thank you Brisbane for giving these guys, they deserve it. They waited for 5 years for their Olympic Games, and they proved that they could go through COVID.
Just finally, I know a lot of young athletes, whether they be swimmers or not, come to you and just say what drove you to the unbelievable deeds that you achieved in your career. And you have a pretty simple message for them, don't you?
I do, Fatty. It's just enjoy. Enjoy whatever you're doing in schoolwork or whatever you're doing in sport, or whatever you want to do is just enjoy the whole exercise of it, because it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure all these guys behind me have had a wonderful enjoyment over in Tokyo, and also here today.
Great to have you here. It's an inspiration, the team. They're all looking at you. They all love you. Dawn Fraser, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Yes, we certainly have a lot to look forward to with Brisbane 2032 coming up. Now, before we close proceedings, which we are about to, but I think just one more round of applause to really show our Olympic and Paralympic athletes how much we appreciate them. Thank you very much. I'm glad we got an Aussie in there as well. I would now like to invite to the stage Julianne Bell, who you may recognise from the most recent season of The Voice. Julianne will perform the national anthem and bring to a close our Olympic and Paralympic welcome home celebrations, Tokyo 2020.
Australians, all let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we've toiled with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the land. For those who've come across the seas, we've boundless plains to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing,